Hello.
Well, you got to let us in now. What were you just so fired up about?
Talking about the ISIS brides.
Oh, yeah.
Shari, I really am so furious about this because, you know, if the government can't answer their question whether they're going to, for privacy reasons, privacy's got nothing to do with it. We're not asking for the names. What we're saying is, are you actually going to allow them to come into the country or not? And the answer is no. And if they won't tell you now, then their attitude is, yes, we are considering letting them in the country. Worst thing we can ever do. Worst thing. I mean,
they've been lacking transparency from the very start, from the very day Liam Mendes in The Australian broke this story. I mean, that was months ago. That was back in August or September last year. And Albanese was asked about it in Parliament. He said the story was wrong. The story was never wrong. New South Wales Police confirmed it. And from that point onwards, they just have not let the public know. But, Pauline, you know, I heard Angus Taylor asked about this by Ben Fordham this morning, and he said the Albanese government has questions to answer. He didn't go as far as saying they shouldn't come here. What do you think?
Well, they shouldn't come here. Shari, I've said that right from the very beginning. We don't need them. These people, these women went over, supported their men to fight in terrorism and against our values, our laws. You know, Angus Taylor wants to appear as if, right, I'm in tune with the Australian people. He will never go far enough, either will the Libs, because the moderates won't allow him to do it. Shari, we're in a situation now in Australia where you can either go down one path and we will reap the rewards of our tough stance against Islam and the radicalisation that we will be facing, or if we open up the borders and allow more into the country, we're going to suffer. Future generations will, as other countries have, like France and Denmark and England and all these other countries and Canada, all these ones who thought, oh, well, we'll welcome them. I tell you what, I've got no time for the radical Islam. Their religion concerns me because what it says in the Quran, they hate Westerners. And that's what it's all about. You know, you say, oh, well, there's good Muslims out there. Well, I'm sorry. How can you tell me there are good Muslims? If jihad is ever called, and people must understand this, go and research, go and understand about this. And the ones that will suffer, as those Jews did on that, you know, when they were murdered and slaughtered.
Well, Pauline,
and that's what we've got to realise could happen.
I mean, there are a lot of moderate Muslims in Australia who are, as you put it, good Muslims. But I think we can agree that radical extremist Islam that doesn't support Australian values has no place here. I just want to pick up on...
Correct. I demand that.
Yeah. The leaked Liberal policy today that proposed visa bans from terror-controlled regions across 13 countries. We might get them up on the screen. You know, some of the places you mentioned, countries like Afghanistan, Palestine, Lebanon, etc. This was prepared under Susan Lee, this policy leaked on Sky News and in the Australian today. Do you support a policy like this, or do you think this might be discriminatory? Do you think it might be better just to have a values test?
No, it's not discriminatory. I totally agree with it. Why wouldn't you? But also, the fact is, that's only regions within those countries, about 37 regions. But Sharia, to go a bit further, if those countries will not take back their citizens, if we want to deport them, if they won't take them back, then don't give them visas. Don't allow them to come into this country. We have to have an agreement with a lot of these countries that people apply to come here as migrants or visa holders, because once they get into Australia, then they use our system against us and the court system so they can stay in the country. If the countries won't take them back, like a lot of the boat people that came in, they actually then destroyed their passports. And if we did find out where they're from, a lot of the countries wouldn't take them back. We have to get over that, and we have to say, right, will you take them back? If they won't, don't allow them into the country.
Mm. Just to another topic, this story, former Victorian Premier Jeff Kennett urging the coalition to cut a preference deal with One Nation ahead of the Victorian election. He basically said it's reasonable that forces on the right have to unite to end the long-running Labor government in Victoria. What do you think of this idea?
It's the only way that we can do to get rid of the Jacinda Allen government, and she's the follow-on from Daniel Andrews that have destroyed the state. Yes, we do. We need to work together. And it's a change of tune from Jeff Kennett, because he hated me, he hated One Nation, what we stood for. But they're realising, they're seeing the writing on the wall. And to say, you know, for Jess, what's her name, the leader in Victoria.
The Victorian
you know,
leader, Jess Wilson.
Jess Wilson, if she says, you know, about One Nation, that type of thing, well, you know, she needs to actually go and have a look at our policies and get her head out of the sand if she says she doesn't want a preference with us and all the rest of it, because they won't win it without One Nation's preferences and working together. And that's what it's all about. If she's determined to turn Victoria around, get it out of the hands of the corrupt governments that have been Daniel Andrews and Jacinda Allen, and get that state back in you know, the where it's not in debt, and what's happened in that state, she has to work with One Nation.
Just turning quickly before you go to the Federal Liberal Party, what do you think of what you've been hearing from Angus Taylor now that he's been in the job for 3 full days or 4 full days?
Look, it's encouraging. I think that he's presenting himself far better than what Susan Lee did, which is encouraging. But I've got to look at this. Jane Hume, and, you know, I've got to question her. You know, she's actually was one of the people that voted against my proposal to have a Senate inquiry into gender dysphoria about these kids being mutilated. The parents wanted to have an inquiry. She actually voted with the Liberal Greens against it. You know, another thing too, you know, she's got to realise that if she wants to represent all Australians, you allow a Senate inquiry to go ahead, so that parents can bring their cases forward to us to say what has happened to their children with hormone treatment and gender dysphoria that's happening. But another thing too, I think she's very condescending, and I think she's elitist and a snob when she says, well, you've got to talk a bit slower if you're going out the country. I think that's rude.
When did I must have missed that. When did she say that? I missed that. When did she say that?
She did in an interview that she did. When she did an interview in Sunrise, and she said, oh, well, you really need to talk a bit slower so that they can catch on. I think it was rude for her to say that. So if she wants to represent all Australians, get out of bloody Toorak, you know, the snobbish area, and understand what Australians are, how they're feeling out there. So they need to get their act together and, you know, stop saying that One Nation is a protest party, or we haven't got policies. We've got more policies up there than what the Liberal Party have, and they keep pinching One Nation's policies. So, you know, we're not a protest party. We're a party for the people of this nation, and I'd like to see more of that from the Liberal Party and work with One Nation so we can get rid of the most toxic government, the Labor and the Greens, out of the government. That's what I want to work towards. Work with me. Don't work against me.
All right. Pauline Hanson, appreciate your time.